What's good, folks, and all those listening today? I shall be talking about one of my favorite animes of all time, Code Geass. What do you lads consider to be right or justful? Let's imagine an incredible superpower ruling over your country, restricting your freedom, and those who are not of their descent and bloodline will be treated differently. Should one respond by complying and adjusting to the rules imposed by them, and slowly appeasing them for your loyalty and love, and in the process asking for those harsh rules that have been put on them to be gone? Or should one start a rebellion, instill fear onto the conquerors, making them second guess their actions, and hence making them beg for mercy, and finally fleeing a country which was never theirs to begin with? What is the right thing to do here? Such is the topic discussed by the masterpiece of the show Code Geass. This anime is not about good versus evil, but is rather about the conflict of ideals. Poverty, starvation, corruption, and slavery all come in the cycle of hatred. So, how should we destroy it? By accepting it or going against it? By creating a rebellion, we surely will be able to get the freedom from an oppressive power, but at the cost of making their own but at the cost of making our own hands dirty, the killing of innocent civilians. Yet the idea of acceptance of those in authority is by no means right as well. The problem is because you are now heeding to the fact that their customs and lifestyles is the one we should follow, and those that were formerly in practice, that was the custom of your people before the invaders supposedly came, are inferior and downright scummy to say the least. Hence, you are oppressing anyone who thinks differently. Yet, what is it then? What should we choose? Should it be acceptance or defiance? We see this whole conflict of this thing that I have just put out between the two main leads of the show, Kururugi Suzuku and Lelouch. Both of them have the same objective, the same end goal, a place where people can be free and happy, but their methodologies differ. The most interesting part about that was the fact that they were very close friends. So close, in fact, that they were almost like family. Yet their difference in views on how to approach the same very end goal made them become sworn enemies. What was once a beautiful friendship, almost almost could be seen like brothers, have now made them deceitful and contempt, and it was incredibly hard to even say that they were once friends before. You could not even see that any longer. Yet even though this hatred was there between these two characters, and their ways of doing things were so in thwarts with one another, as the viewer, you can empathize with both of them, and you could see where their actions were coming from. You could never really pinpoint or side with either of them. Yet, what does it mean to be in a position of power and authority? Let's suppose you are very good in a certain skill, let's say music. Our world will promote you for your work by giving you more money as you are better than the rest. Basically, a place run through merit. So the people in power here are just those who are really, really good in certain skills. Of course, it wasn't only talent that got them there, it was a lot of hard work. Yet interestingly, there is a separation between those who are not so good in a particular field to those who aren't that good in a particular field. There is really those who are really, really good, and those who are like average, and maybe those who are very interested, who have the drive to do it, but are not really talented to do so. They don't have the ability to do so. So I can say this world is filled with inequality. In this particular scenario, an egalitarian society, there is still inequality present. Yet, what does equality even mean? Does it mean equal status? and where everyone will be treated the exact same way, regardless of your ability? Or does it mean what I had mentioned in the earlier point, equal opportunity? This could be seen as the argument that the Britannian Empire had made. They were heavily enthralled with the Darwin saying, "The strong survive and the weak shall just perish away from the struggle of competition." They used this difference to a great degree. Those who are born from a certain bloodline or of a certain descent get greater opportunities and hence climb easily upwards. Yet those who aren't from those bloodlines and of a certain descent would need to work much harder. Yet the question still arises: how is this world different from the world that we live in? The world that we live in right now. Those who are born in rich families will naturally be getting a better education, more opportunities, and excellent food than those who are not so well off. Whether this discrimination is done through wealth or bloodline, it will always exist. So their whole plan, the Britannian Empire to be more specific, Charles V. Britannia, was to become God himself. He understood that the reason why all this inequality exists stems from the idea that everyone possesses an inherent difference in ability and hence only a few can rise. Moreover, because of man being a person who can possess free will and to think differently over many subjects of matter, this will again create a form of argument. And if neither side is willing to compromise and question their own beliefs of their own opinions, it will lead to another fight to come across. So then he decided, by this gift that he was endowed by these mystical beings, to make all human beings to be in one collective consciousness. That was the mind of his, Charles. Now, as everyone thinks the same way, as everyone is just basically him, there will be no form of disagreement whatsoever. So you could think of this form of society that he has created as peace in a way, right? Lelouch, Lelouch v. Britannia, the son of Charles, thought differently. He believed that his father's way of life was incredibly nonsensical, primarily because if humans don't think differently and also share the same, primarily because if humans all think the same way and share the same experiences, there will be nothing to talk about. Moreover, in the process of innovation and the building of new structures and technology, we all uh, we all be gone because we all will no longer be able to go further ahead because people think in the exact same way. For example, if there is a certain problem in a given technology that you're trying to build, right, and that the whole collective society is trying to build, because we all have the same minds and the same logical approach, and hence we'll have the same logical approach, what was a roadblock for one individual will now become the roadblock for the entire society. Yet if people thought differently, there could be some form of discussion being done, and in the process, if a person were to just look at it differently because of their minds being trained and to think, because of their minds trained to think differently and approach things in a different manner, they can find a solution to what was once a problem for one individual. So clearly Lelouch is against his father, and his argument is also quite convincing if you think about it. But come to think of it again, neither of them can be said to be neither of them could be said to be right or wrong. They both had good intentions, and their intentions was to make a place where everyone could be free and be happy. But my point that I had made earlier, you know, in a fight between two opposing ideals, should the lives of innocent people be taken away? Right? the fight between the father and the son, right, created a war, and the war lasted for years. And in this war that lasted for years, so many people had died. And every time these people that have died, both parties gave the same argument that these sacrifices are for the greater good. But who defines the greater good? What does the greater good even mean when you are the one defining the greater good? Who defines the good? What can be right to you can be seen wrong to many. And this whole process of fighting and clashing and wars because of differences in opinions and beliefs and practices and customs, etc., and etc., and etc., will never stop. Boy, oh boy, did we go somewhere while talking about this show. And this episode has led me to, I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Now, in this topic of differing ideals and the difficulty in understanding morality, I would like to talk about the book called The Stranger by Albert Camus. It starts off with a guy named Merceau. One of the very interesting excerpts in this book is, why is it my sentence should be made at 7 p.m. and not 5 p.m.? Why is it that this trial of mine is made by French people or Chinese people? And why is it that the people involved in the trial are those who change their underwear? This whole certainty of things seems to detract the seriousness of the decision that is being made. Yet I am forced to admit, however, that once it is passed, the outcome will become as serious as life or death. End of excerpt. By the way, I also paraphrased a few things here and there. See, if something were to be said to be uncertain, you're basically controlling the individual's life. Of course, in this whole concept of there being a trial, one could argue that they are giving you an opportunity to prove yourself otherwise, a place of defense. Yet at the end of the day, you are not even sure if the person that is judging you is biased to the other party, or if it was some sort of act that was all made so that you can feel that you have some freedom, but in reality, your fate was already decided the moment you were convicted. What can be seen here is the fact that no matter who you side with, we are all slaves by those who are we are all slaves by those who are in power. Yet this character, Merceau, was someone who never really had any stance of his own, any opinion of his own. So what it resulted in was many people actually condemning him, but never really having the ability to say he was right or he was wrong. How can anyone say that you are virtuous or not if you have no opinion or stance of your own? The idea of suspicion and questioning everything possesses the most destructive quality in all of nature and sometimes makes us take a deeper look at ourselves. Suspicion can be seen as a teacher in some way. Although, if you take logic too far and in every situation in life, you may end up doing nothing at all. If life runs in certainty and death is the only certainty, how would it matter if you were to die now or 10 years from now or 20 for that matter? It is all one and the same. So why should I do anything in life? This is when you take suspicion too far. I mean, think about it. We have all made decisions in life when we are not even sure what the outcome would be. We have children and have a family with there being no guarantee that the child that we'll be happy or that we'll be having will be happy in his future or not. Sometimes it is not about logic and certainty that makes us do things. We do things because that's what we consider to be right at that given time, or that is what makes us happy. But what we consider to be right, or what makes us happy and is comfortable to us, is that really the right thing in the greater end? Well, to me, the answer can only be told in time if it has been put into execution. There is no real way of knowing whether something is right or wrong if only discussed in theory. You have to put things into execution and wait for the results to come. That's what I think. I'm not even sure myself, quite frankly. I'm quite sure and certain that after a while from now, maybe like 5, 6 years, I might disagree with everything that I have made from now. This show gave me a glance at these multiple perspectives to the same situation, and it made me realize how insignificant my life was. Unlike other animes, which tend to also, maybe a bit of a tangential from this whole concept of morality and questioning things and what is right or wrong. I just realized that this show was so much more better in portraying what women could do and what they can bring to society than any other anime that has ever been put out. There are two characters in particular, Carlin and Cece. And if it weren't for these two people, the Black Knight's victories would have never come out. They would have never won anything, if you ask me. These two people were the most important people in this whole show, and they were women, and they were written very well. I think they were written in a magnificent way, if you ask me. I think like anime tends to like over glorify. There's always not even over glorify. I think that's a bad way of putting it. They have actually shown women's capabilities, but never to the degree that Code Geass has. I think it does a good job in this as well. I would like to put an end to this by giving to you a description of a cube. If you are to look at a cube in one glance, you can see four sides of it. And if you change the angle of the cube, you can see another four sides of it. But no matter how many angles you view the same object, there will always be two sides that you cannot see, and hence you can never see the object, that is the cube, for its totality. Quite simply put, every perspective hides other things in order for it to look good, and no matter what side you take, there will be something wrong in that very side you have taken, or something that is being hidden from you. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.